The diner clock ticked steadily, its soft rhythm echoing faintly above the chatter of people enjoying warm meals on a rainy afternoon. Outside, the rain poured against the glass windows like 1,000 tiny heartbeats, blurring the world beyond. Inside, amid the smell of coffee, bacon, and toast, sat a young girl in a wheelchair. Her name was Lily. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, her hands slightly trembling as she lifted her cup of hot chocolate with care. She smiled quietly, watching the world through kind eyes that held both innocence and sorrow. Life had not been gentle with her. She was only 17, but had already seen more cruelty than comfort, more judgment than understanding. Her wheelchair was old, the paint chipped, and the rubber on one wheel slightly torn. She didn't care about appearances, she cared about moments. The simple joy of sitting in a warm place, listening to laughter, watching people come and go, these were treasures she had learned to cherish. But in a world where people often mistake difference for weakness, kindness can sometimes become a lonely dream. Before we continue with Lily's story, if you believe that kindness and second chances can still change the world, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soulful Kindness ****. Together, we can remind the world that compassion is still the strongest force of all. The day had started like any other for Lily. She had rolled herself from the small shelter she lived in, through puddles and cold winds, hoping to treat herself to something warm after saving a few dollars she'd earned drawing sketches for strangers at the park. The diner had always felt like a safe space, bright lights, friendly music, and the comforting smell of food that made her forget, if only for a while, that the world outside could be harsh. She ordered a simple plate of fries and a refillable cup of cocoa, placing her small bag beside her. But safety is fragile when cruelty decides to enter the room. 3 young men walked in, loud, laughing, carrying the arrogance of those who have never known pain. They were regulars, the type who thrived on being noticed, who sought entertainment in the discomfort of others. The waitress looked nervous when she saw them, and Lily noticed her shoulders tighten as she passed their booth. Lily had seen their type before, the ones who thought kindness was weakness and laughter was an excuse to be cruel. At first, the men ignored her, chatting loudly and mocking the cook. But then, one of them noticed her sitting alone, her wheelchair by the window, her fries untouched as she doodled in her notebook. He whispered something to his friends, and they all laughed. That sound, cruel and sharp, pierced the air like glass breaking. They walked over, their footsteps heavy, smirks painted across their faces. Lily didn't look up right away. She had learned that ignoring cruelty sometimes made it go away, but not that day. One of the men leaned over her table and said something she couldn't bring herself to repeat, something meant to make her feel small, broken, less than human. When she didn't respond, he grew angrier. He wanted a reaction, an acknowledgement of his power. When she looked up, her soft eyes met his, not with fear but with quiet sadness. That look, that unshakable dignity enraged him further. And then it happened. A slap. Sharp, loud, and shocking. Her cup toppled, cocoa spilling across the table and dripping onto the floor. The sound silenced the diner. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. The waitress gasped. The cook stepped forward but hesitated, afraid of what might happen if he interfered. The 3 bullies laughed and walked back to their booth, proud of what they'd done, as if cruelty was proof of strength. Lily didn't cry, she didn't scream. She simply closed her eyes, steadied her breathing, and whispered something under her breath that no one could hear, a prayer for courage perhaps, or forgiveness. Slowly, she lifted the cup back onto the table, her trembling hands cleaning the spilled cocoa with napkins. The entire diner watched in silence. Shame filled the air, not because of what she did, but because of what they didn't do. An hour passed. The bullies still sat laughing, oblivious to the weight of their actions. Outside, the rain had stopped, replaced by the low hum of engines in the distance, the kind of sound that grows from a whisper to a roar, deep, powerful, and commanding. Every head in the diner turned toward the window as a group of bikers pulled into the parking lot. Black leather jackets glistened with rainwater, engines still rumbling. Their presence was impossible to ignore. They were known in town not for causing trouble, but for ending it. The Hells Angels. Men and women who lived by a code of loyalty, respect, and justice, the kind that doesn't wait for permission to do what's right. They parked their bikes in a perfect line, helmets in hand, eyes scanning the diner through the fogged-up glass. When they entered, the air shifted. The bell above the door chimed, and silence fell. The bullies went quiet, suddenly unsure of themselves. The leader of the bikers, a tall man with broad shoulders and kind eyes, noticed Lily first. He saw the spilled cocoa, the mark on her face, and the nervous tension in the room. He didn't ask what happened, he didn't need to. The truth hung heavy in the air, undeniable. He walked over to her table and knelt down, his voice soft enough that only she could hear. Whatever he said made her nod, her lips trembling into the faintest smile. Then he stood, turned toward the bullies, and stared at them not with rage, but with a kind of steady, controlled disappointment that cut deeper than any shout could. One of the bullies tried to speak, his words stammering, excuses falling apart before they even formed. The leader didn't say a word. He simply looked at the three men, then motioned for his fellow bikers. They surrounded the booth, silent and unyielding. The bullies shrank, realizing that their laughter had vanished, replaced by fear, by shame, by the mirror of their own cruelty reflected back at them. The leader leaned forward, speaking in a calm tone that carried through the diner like a storm in still air. No one knew exactly what he said, but it was enough. The bullies stood, eyes lowered, their arrogance stripped away. They left without another word. The room exhaled. The waitress, who had been clutching her apron, finally relaxed. The cook stepped out from behind the counter, his eyes wide with relief. The leader returned to Lily's table. One of the bikers handed her a fresh cup of cocoa, while another placed an envelope on the table, a quiet gesture of kindness. She shook her head at first, but he smiled, insisting. She accepted it, her eyes glistening with gratitude. The bikers stayed for a while, ordering coffee and pie, filling the once tense diner with easy laughter and warmth. What had once felt like a place of fear became a space of safety again, all because a group of strangers chose compassion over silence. As they prepared to leave, the leader placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. "You ever need someone to stand up for you again," he said quietly, "you won't have to face it alone." She smiled, her heart heavy with gratitude, her eyes reflecting the glimmer of hope that had returned to her. After they left, Lily opened the envelope. Inside was a simple note, asterisk, "A kindness protects its own." Asterisk beneath it was enough money to replace her wheelchair, buy new art supplies, and secure a few nights in a safe motel. But more than the money, it was the message that mattered. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible, she didn't feel small, she felt seen. That night, as she wheeled herself home beneath the fading glow of streetlights, she looked up at the sky and smiled. The stars had returned after the rain, and somewhere deep in her heart, she knew there are still people in this world who don't look away when others suffer, who don't hesitate to stand up for what's right. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soulful Kindness to help spread more stories that remind the world what compassion truly looks like. Before you go, I want to leave you with a request. Comment below, what does kindness mean to you? Because sometimes one small act of kindness can become the story that changes someone's life forever.